Howdy, friends and neighbors. I am your intrepid host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And this is a little bit of Earth Wobble update since I can actually see the sky tonight without having cloud cover down here in South Georgia. I just want to say a grand hello to everyone, and I hope that this new year is working out for you. I know that on a cosmic basis and on where the Schumann resonance and all them kind of things that I like to talk about, other things too, but there's definitely been some changes since the first of the year. And a lot of folks are feeling it. I know there have been several times where I've just been literally, you know, feels like the giant lizard stepped on my head and squashed my face down in the mud, if you will. But there's a lot of cosmic energy going on, and I wanted to do a little quick update about Earth Wobble since I haven't done one in a while. Well, mainly because I haven't been able to see the dang sky. But a couple of days ago, the moon was, I'll start off with the moon. What would be about 2 weeks ago now, when we came out of, well, 10 days, I guess, when we came out of new moon and we were starting to go into the first half of the moon phase. As most of you know, my house faces south, and when I can see the moon out this window over here, it's in the wrong spot. And so I went outside, and I guess it was the second night, which would be barely a sliver of a moon, and I had to go look for the dang moon going down. It was in the wrong place, and where it should have been higher in the sky because of where I last saw it before the new moon, it was much higher in the sky, but it's not. It wasn't. Now that was about 10 days ago, roughly. Now it's almost directly overhead again. Now I've been reporting on this that between the Earth wobbling and the moon wobble, and ET said that they had fixed the moon. Well, I don't know what's going on, but let me back this up with this. For several nights now, I haven't been able to see, because of cloud cover, where the stars are. But I could kind of pinpoint where the moon was. So the moon has been like coming up from about 30 degrees above the horizon now to 90 degrees in less than 10 days. I mean, we're talking, oh, that puppy's jamming. And some other folks that I'm in contact with, I always ask, where was the moon, the other day? And everybody's kind of sort of agreeing that, the moon wobble thing, it was like, well, it was way low in the sky a couple of days ago. Now it's straight up overhead. And for me down here in South Georgia, for it to be straight overhead is like, that's a big deal. I mean, like right overhead, right now, kind of thing. Now, as I went outside earlier today, now it's 8:46 Eastern Standard Time on down here in South Georgia. Just to give you a time reference. Sassy Susie, hello. What's happening with the magnetic pole? And if it flips, do you know what will be affected? I'm so confused. Over. And so a lot of people are scared to death with this. And I keep trying to tell folks, it's nothing more than the magnetics inside of the earth that's being shifted around with all these cosmic energies. What does it mean in the long run? It means our where true north is, our magnetic north, when you go map hunting or using your GPS, it's going to knock it off. The GPS is going to be out of whack because everything is oriented around magnetic north. Now, if magnetic north moves, it's not that the planet's going to flip upside down. It's going to be that the magnetics of the earth is changing and moving along with the planet. I mean, I don't think the North Pole is going to be quite where the North Pole used to be. And for many years, I don't know, for the last 10 years, the scientists have been saying, well, it's headed toward Siberia. It's been headed toward Siberia for a long time. And in my Earth Wobble updates, I've been talking about some of these things. And, I was a child of the 60s, born in 52. And so we knew about the Earth Wobble thing way back then. They didn't try to hide it from us. But they always said that the cycle was such that it would take, centuries for the wobble to actually, transpire. But as my observations over the last 2, 3 years at least, I've been talking about how the sun comes up in the wrong spot 2 or 3 days in a row. It's like it's over here one day, then it's over here, and then it's back over here. Things. The only way to explain that would be if the Earth is wobbling more. Now, one of the things that is changing, a lot of earthquakes going on. That means the magma underneath our feet, inside the planet, not real deep, but the Earth's mantle, the skin, if you will, of the Earth sits on this floating magma, okay, which turns into lava when it comes out of a volcano or shoots out of the Earth. The magma is moving rapidly right now under our feet. One of the things I wanted to report was there was a 3.7 or something off the coast of Maryland yesterday, you know, and me and a friend of mine were on doing a Hangouts live stream, and I was telling my friend that, all up, I've been warning folks that live in the, Tennessee, North Carolina. There have been a lot of earthquakes up and down the Appalachian Mountains. And it's all this energy coming, from the Pacific traveling across. But this magnetic issue, there are a lot of people out there like, whoa, the Earth's going to flip over. That's very highly unlikely. Why? Because of the centrifugal force of what's inside the Earth. All that magma, all those things. It's going to be very difficult for the Earth to flip upside down. So for all those folks who want to, bring up that, oh my God, we're all going to die. The planet's going to flip upside down. The North Pole is changing. And yes, the magnetics of the planet are changing. But that's really only going to mostly affect our compasses. It's going to affect GPS. It's going to affect the, airplanes that north isn't quite north anymore magnetically. So things need to be adjusted. But this has been going on for a long time. Okay. So this is not anything, quote, new. I've been following the magnetic North Pole, for at least the last 15 years. Oh, but it is suddenly sped up. Maybe. But the thing is that what sped it up? How do they know that the North Pole is moving? The magnetics of the North Pole is moving, not necessarily the true north, or the north. If you okay, I believe in a round earth. Sorry, flat earthers. But, if you put a pin through, a rotating ball, there is that axis that which the planet spins upon. And it's going to be very difficult for that to flip upside down because of all the centrifugal force. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen, but it ain't going to just flip upside down. The magnetics, however, could flip. And what would that mean? It would be that all of our compasses, instead of pointing north, would point south. Whoops. So we'd be 180 degrees off, depending on where the magnetics finally landed on the planet. Hey, Eureka, let me ask you what it means when you hear your name called in your dream. Eureka, I also believe in the hollow earth, very much so. And I got a little bit of confirmation the other day from someone who was doing some readings using a pendulum. And actually, it was on R. Wayne Steiger. I was watching his, I can't remember the gentleman's name. I think it was Patrick, who was doing some pendulum sweeping thingy, asking questions of the planets. And there were those things that were asked. And I thought to myself, well, on my shamanic journey, I have known about some of these things for a long time. And so it was just like confirmation for me, like, yeah, the earth is hollow. Yes, there are beings inside who don't really want to have anything to do with us nasty humans on the surface, which is like, yes, Patrick. Hi, Pink Angel. Hello, can't stay, but I wanted to say the moon jumped way north a couple of nights ago. Absolutely, Pink Angel. You're right on target. And before you go, I want to say this because I didn't want to make this a long video, but a quick update. When I went outside tonight, Orion was due east. way east. I mean, actually, it was a little bit to the north, slightly northeast of east. It'd be like east, northeast, anyway, but about 5 degrees further north of east, which is not where Orion has been rising. The other thing is where it's at right now. Orion is like straight overhead. About a week ago, give or take, I guess it was over the last couple of nights it was clear. I went outside and Orion was way far south. Now, why do I bring up Orion? Well, because everybody knows Orion, the three stars in the belt. And one of the things that I use as a marker, especially about this time of year, is like, where is Orion, which leads me to where is Pleiades and all these other, where is Sirius, where's the dog star? And it's like the dog star should be up by now. It's not. For some reason, I'm talking right now, the Earth is slow. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, because Orion should be higher in the sky than it was 30 minutes ago when I did my check. And I was like, wait a minute, Orion's supposed to be further over my head right now. Well, over more over galactic head, I guess you would say. But it's all it for the last, I don't know, month or so, it's been to the south. It's not in the south anymore. It's like overhead, which is like really strange because that means the whole earth has slid or rolled to the south, which brings the moon straight over our head along with Orion. And so I'm doing this because it's like, this is kind of creepy in that I thought the Earth's wobble had slowed down a little bit, but there's been so much seismic activity on the planet. I mean, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 earthquakes in Tennessee in the last week. There were 2 in North Carolina about in 10 days. And I mean significant, above 2.5. The one that was off the coast of Maryland yesterday, Maryland, Virginia, off the coast, it's like that was significant. Nobody talks about the one that went off in Newfoundland a couple of days ago that was like 4.1. Well, Newfoundland, where's that? Well, that's above New York. It's above Maine. It's at the top of the fault line that goes around, that goes basically right through the Appalachian Mountains. And I've been talking with folks. Yeah, Pink Angel. Yeah, you got to go look. Yeah. Now I'm in South Georgia. I'm about 50 miles north of the Florida borders to just give you an idea of where I am on the planet. So that when I look at certain things, it's like, when they move from down here in the sky to overhead, that's a big deal. Now I can expect the moon to be in a sort of curvy, different kind of pattern, something like that. But when Orion moves in the sky 20 degrees, that means the Earth has wobbled 20 degrees south at this particular time, okay? Which would also bring the moon up earlier, which is like surprising to me because as I've reported in the past, it seems that the moon had kind of settled down a little bit a couple of months ago to where, it was kind of wobbling to the south, but it was at full moon, it was like directly overhead. And it has been that way for like 3 months. Now it's straight overhead and it's only half moon. That's just like, it's early. Now, maybe the moon hasn't moved, but because of Orion being straight overhead, that tells me the Earth has slid south, which would bring the moon and Orion overhead. Yeah, right. I'm with y'all. It's like, no, that's it. That's not supposed to be right there. Sorry, guys. Let me read your Swellian Grenfirth. Can communism, archaism, 1973, about future days, track list, future days, spray, moonshake, Bel Air. Hello, anyone? I'm not quite sure. My thoughts about 1973 Can album, Future Days. I think it was. Yeah, Pink Angel, the moon is lit from the bottom. Um, I think there were a lot of people back in the 60s that and early 70s. I mean, when I think of Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young, but they wrote a song called Dark Star. Back then. And now, what have a lot of us are talking about? Well, we're talking about the Dark Star. We're talking about Planet X. We're talking about Nibiru, Dark Star. Just saying. Now, I listen to the Moody Blues a lot, and on the threshold of a dream, and which is just one of them. But if you think about back in those days, a lot of us, myself included, were taking some really good LSD. And I'm here to tell you that I think that back in those days, before there was so much mind control, there were a lot of us that went out off of this planet and saw the universe for what it was and brought some of those things back. And when I did, I came back and my road was to follow my Native American heritage, to learn about what medicine people were about, to learn the shaman path, not so much about other people, although my lifelong path has been to try to help as many people as possible. It wasn't necessarily that I was doing this to be, quote, a healer, but a fellow traveler to help other fellow travelers on this, shamanic journey, a spiritual journey. Okay. Pink says, I can see it from the couch straight out my west facing window. 2 nights ago, I was seeing it out my south facing window. And when it tracks, it moves north, not west. There you go, Pink. Future days. Selwyn. The moonshake pole shift. The pole shift is due. Now, let's make sure we got this right, Selwyn. If a lot of people think pole shift, they think the planet's going to flip upside down, or at least turn sideways, like the lady with the Zeta Reticula stuff. And I've listened to her for many years, and I gotta say that some of the things have been like, well, maybe. But here's part of this issue. It's like there's too much centrifugal force. The science that I've been studying, the history, the planet, everything. I mean, I'm 66 and I've been studying this for a long time. Now, does that make me an expert? No, but it allows me to see through the bull crap, because every so many years, like, oh, the magnetic north is moving again. Oh, it's picked up speed. Every so many months or years, they throw this stuff out again. And maybe it is moving. I'm not saying that it isn't, but I'm saying they bring this stuff up to scare the crap out of everybody again. And it's like, just think about a spinning ball. How hard is a spinning ball to move it sideways or upside down? A lot. And whether, flat earthers are going to have trouble with this, but, if you use just the laws of centrifugal force, it's going to be very difficult to flip the planet upside down. However, the magnetics of the planet are a different thing. The magnetics is electricity. It's the energy coming in from the cosmos. Could the magnetic north flip to south? Yes. What's that going to cause? Our compasses to go wacko. What's that going to affect? Is it going to kill anybody? Only people in airplanes that might not be able to find the right heading to an airport. Is it going to kill anybody outright? No, it's magnetics. It's the magnetic field around the earth. And it is changing. It is fluctuating. I have discussed this in previous videos because of the cosmic energy bombarding the planet right now. And the Schumann resonance in the last 2 or 3 days, every 12 hours, we're getting this little spike. We're getting harmonic frequencies around 24 and 36 that are really strong. So planet Earth is responding to these galactic energies coming in. Night Pink, she's already gone. But to the point, though, there are other things that are affecting the magnetics, and that has to do with the magnetics of the entire solar system. And now the galactics are saying we're getting some of that really heavy duty energy coming from the galactic center, from the center of the Milky Way, our galaxy. And so that this is not just, some random thing. This has been going on. Folks have been reporting about it, but I really get ticked off when people say, "Oh, the magnetics are changing. We're all gonna die." Oh, please stop. I'm not about fear porn, but let's talk about the science. And the science says it could happen, but it's going to be, if we're going to roll over the earth, it's going to take a while. It's not just going to flip. Now, we're wobbling big time, but 10 degrees is not the same as 180 degrees, just saying, So there are many things that are going on. Eureka says, in my opinion, I've seen one of the image of the graph of the magnetic north moving. It looks like it's going back up. Yep. Not true. The magnetic north and south actually is to protect us from the deadly radiation of our sun. I agree with that, Eureka. My point to that is that can fluctuate without turning the earth upside down. Selwyn says the magnetic field around the earth is time itself. Yes, but it depends on how you want to quantify it, Selwyn. There is a little bit of truth to that. And there are a lot of us who have been experienced what some would call Mandela effect, or, loss of time, or like the last couple of days, things just seemed weird to me. I've discussed it in some of my other videos, but it just seems like reality it has changed. And some would say, well, it's the matrix that we're in. Well, in my world, my matrix is the ancient matrix, which makes up the entire universe of spider webs. I've discussed this before. But my matrix isn't the AI, this matrix in the computer. I choose to only participate slightly with this AI and this matrix because I have a choice. I can turn it on, I can turn it off. Now, in my real world, when I see changes like the moon going up and down and I make these videos, that's something concrete that is like in the real world, in the spider web of the universe, okay? And it's my understanding of these spider webs that also tells me it would be very difficult for the earth to flip upside down. The magnetic north, if you say, oh my goodness, what does that mean? It means that positive is on the North Pole and negative, if you will, is on the South Pole. What if it flips? It's just magnetics. Now, there could be a day or two of some really outrageous things going on, but the bottom line, it's the magnetics. Yes, it protects us. Yes, it's keeping us alive on this planet. But simply from flipping the North Pole from a positive to a negative is basically only going to affect our compasses and the GPS. Everything would have to be recalibrated, okay? But to the point of, is it going to kill us? I don't think so. Now, it's going to be really touch and go if the polarity changes, okay? So all this stuff about, ooh, it's moving. Of course it's moving. Anyone who thinks that the Earth or the solar system or the galaxy or the universe is static, meaning still, is just, I'm sorry, but everything's moving all the time. All of us, There are reports that another galaxy just flew by, us. What? A whole galaxy just flew by? Okay, well, but that's what science is putting out there. Now, they put that out a few years ago that, well, the Milky Way might collide with another one pretty soon, but that's thousands and millions of years away. Now they come out a year or two later and they say, woo, it just whizzed past us. So, some of this science is like, I don't know, remember NASA, never a straight answer, right? But to the point, though, we have to look at the facts that what we do see. And we are all seeing that the moon and the earth, and, I seriously doubt that the entire constellation of Orion moved in the last 2 days. It is the Earth. Now, would that be because that would move if we're on a heavy duty wobble for whatever reason, and this seismic activity of the Earth, it's like where are all these earthquakes coming from in Mississippi, in eastern Tennessee, near Maryville, and in western North Carolina, off the coast of Virginia. In the last 2 months, there have been a lot of activity along the Appalachian Mountains on the east side. We're not supposed to have this kind of stuff. And I've been watching this stuff for years because my mentors have told me, keep an eye out. When some of this starts going crazy up and down the Appalachian, that's when Earth is going to be starting to really do her shaky, shaky, settling down kind of thing. And because we just made this turn, so a lot of the other planets are on the kind of sort of the opposite side of the sun right now, our magnetics in the universe has changed. So that could have knocked us kind of wobbly because we're not under the direct influence of Jupiter like we were 2 months ago, for example, or Saturn or Uranus or Uranus or, Neptune and their moons, So, but to the point though, so I talked about this a couple of months ago, and I said the Galactic said that when we came around the side of the backside or the front side, depending, we're going into spring, that we would see some of these changes, and that it was going to be rough, and to keep an eye out on the East Coast there was going to be for us, going to be some fairly strong earthquakes. Well, a 4.2 is right up there if you catch my drift, and there was a 4.7 or 4.2, something like that, in Mississippi. Well, now that's near the New Madrid fault line, and folks need to pay attention. If you live in these areas, you're not used to earthquakes. And you should start making an earthquake plan because around Memphis and places like that. I've been to Arkansas and Missouri and places like that. I've been to St. Louis, and St. Louis wasn't built for earthquakes. Bottom line, neither was Maryland. Bottom line. But so this is not to scare you. This is to pay attention. These things are happening. Check your own earthquake thing with the USGS. Now, a lot of the ones that are happening along the Appalachian, they're in the 2-point to 3-point area. You say, well, that's not very strong. Well, about 20 years ago, the USGS and the scientists on the planet decided to say that a 2.0 earthquake, well, we're going to downgrade it to a 1. So what used to be a 3 is now a 4. What? Right. Because they downgraded everything. So it's like, well, wait a minute. But anyway, my point to this is that all of these things are happening at the same time. Now, should we get jumpy? Yes, to the point that make sure you're prepared, because we don't know what's going to actually happen with this. Is it going to shut everybody's lights off? Is it going to kill everybody? It could kill some folk. If you're depending on electricity and you've got a heart monitor, that's going to be some serious. I would look into another way of, producing something. But if you're just a normal human being on a regular day-to-day kind of thing, you just need to have batteries and food and water and those kind of things like a hurricane, or some other kind of natural disaster. And prepare. Hang on. And it doesn't mean that everybody's going to need it, but, I've got stuff that I bought 2 years ago as a prepper. And now I'm going through that food 2 years ago and getting rid of it. And when I buy, I'm restocking with other stuff right now. But I'm actually living off of food that I bought 2 years ago. And it's like, well, a couple of cans went bad, but mostly okay so far. I'm still alive. I'm still here. Now, with that said, though, the cosmic updates are that we're getting some energy from the center of the galaxy, and that these are going to have the ET says they don't know. They're not quite sure what the effect is going to be, but we should all hang on. There some of these other spaceships and things that are seen on LASCO and the Cora satellites and all. These spaceships are coming in and have been coming in to our solar system for quite a few years now. And some of them are stationing themselves around our solar system. So when these energy pulses enter our solar system, they act like capacitors or say like a lightning rod. That'd be the easiest way to put it, to help discharge some of these energies coming through so it doesn't flip the planet upside down and so it doesn't kill us all. So you could say, well, is ET helping? Yes. Go and look at some of these satellite images and you go, well, okay. All right. But to the point though, there are, well, starting now, actually, towards the end of the month, we're going into a very highly active area of the cosmos. All of the planets, including the minor planets, and even some of the larger asteroids, are all going to play a large part in this. Now, some of this is just stuff that I've I don't know how I got the information, to be quite honest with you, but here within the last couple of days, I've been getting like current downloads, and I got two other websites that I check out, and they're almost, it was like 95. They confirm 95% of the things that I haven't yet discussed. And it's that, yep, coming up here in these next couple of weeks, here towards the end of this month, is going to be some interesting times. And they've been telling us for a long time, make sure you just have yourself, prepared. Don't be stupid. Don't go out and buy a new cell phone right now. Spend it on food. Spend it on something around the house. Spend it on a good light or something with with strong batteries or something like that. But new cell phone, no, not unless you're just broke trash and you need it for work. Uh, but to the point though, what's going on the planet and with the moon? Now the moon has been doing this, facing one way and then facing another. It seemed like it was being fairly steady for a while. I don't know. The information is that some bad guys tried to disrupt the plasma center of the moon, which is its gyroscope. I talked about this in a previous video, but that they basically knocked out part of the controls, excuse me, and the moon's kind of back on a little wobble itself. And I've had some personal contact with some friends saying, does that mean we get to go back to the moon and work on it again? So we'll see. But anyway, so I didn't want to go too long with this. There's some more information, but I just wanted to bring this up. The last time there was a pole shift, there was some extinction stuff happening at that time. But Eureka, it was that was caused by incoming that flipped the Earth. Okay. This is a magnetic pole shift, not the same thing. Okay. Also, what many people don't understand is the Earth is expanding. That's why we're having issues with the earthquakes. The Earth is expanding and has been. Okay. And now with these extra energies, the magma is more fluid. Okay. Instead of, honey, you've got, syrup, it runs a lot faster. Okay, never mind. But with that said, though, there were other things in the pole shift that happened. It wasn't just a magnetic pole shift. You got to separate the two. Oh, the pole shift electrically. That's like changing phases on a motor. Then that's like making a motor run backwards versus forwards. Now, that's not what's going to happen with the Earth. But when the magnetics flip, what's going to happen most is our compasses are going to be wacky. Instead of pointing north, they're going to point south. That's what's going to be the biggest thing. And some of the ETs said, now this would be interesting, that instead of being a bipolar, meaning north-south, that the Earth in its transition was going to change to a monopolar, meaning that the Earth would look more like a toroid. In other words, there would be, it wouldn't just come out from the top and the bottoms and make this field. It would actually, the center of the Earth would actually be like north. So all our compasses would point down. But that it there wouldn't be this fluctuation like it is right now, because it would be a monopolar type of event, meaning that we would be encased in this electromagnetic shield, and Earth would, well, if she's going through ascension or the transition like we all are, then that kind of sort of makes sense. That instead of being bipolar like this, we become monopolar. Look into that. It's very interesting. Now, I don't know for sure. Obviously, I'm just another human being on this planet, but there's a lot of evidence that that might actually take place. And that doesn't have anything to do with the Earth flipping upside down. It has to do with the electricity and the magnetism around the planet. Quartz, hi, how are you? The protective shield, absolutely, Miss Deborah. Blessings to you. I want to have a chat with you in a little bit, but let me come back to according to Professor Langdon, Tuma Sumerian was called a heavenly serpent dragon. Tammuz equal time equals Leviathan. Fault line reminds me of California and of Malibu therein. Ask yourself why the spirit drink Malibu is somehow from Barbados. Away the likeness between Future Days album and the Beijing flag. Um, there are a lot of similarities, and there are a lot of things in art forms that there are some people who don't have a clue why they drew it, what their understanding of it is. I mean, there were years ago, if you could see some of the stuff I drew back in the early 1970s, you'd go, Hawkeye, where'd you come up with that? But it got burned up in the house. But I can recollect some things that I drew and some paintings and some drawings and things that I did. You know, while future traveling, if you will, in the ethereal plane. But it's that it seemed like there were a lot of us during the 60s and the 70s and into the 80s, some until, you know, disco really took over, that there was a higher level of thought. I mean, you know, Jethro Tull, thick as a brick. You know, I really don't mind if you sit this one out. My words but a whisper, your deafness a shout. I can't make you feel, but I can make you think. Your sperm's in the gutter and your love's in the sink. You know, I mean, it's like, what? Ian Anderson wrote that a long time ago for most of us, you know, and it's like, but when you listen to the words, and it wasn't just the Moody Blues or you know, Jimi Hendrix or, you know, or any of these, but it was a whole group of them. Bob Dylan kind of started it in a way with the folk singing, but Crosby, Stills and Nash, teach your children well, you know, their father's hell will surely go by. We're living that now. My children, it's like somewhere along the line, some of these folks went nuts. But anyway, you know, but it's been society that's changed around us. You know, anyway, but looking back at the music and the album covers and stuff, I mean, you know, Frank Zappa in the mid 60s with Mothers of Invention and Brown Shoes Don't Make It, Quit School, Why Fake It, you know, TV Dinner by the Pool, you know, Golden Rule, something, you know, Royal Plastic Robots from a world that doesn't care. Do you think that has anything to do with now? Plastic robots? Oh my God, we really have them. Zappa was talking about it in 68, you know, in the Mothers of Invention. So it's like, so there have been a lot of awakened people who've written music, and then music just took a turn for something. I don't know. It changed into rap, who just like, I'm sorry, you know, I can't hear the words, and the beat sucks, and it makes my brain throb the wrong way. But anyway, with this little update, though, I implore you, please go outside and check out for yourself. Always try to stand in relatively the same place, because if you move, you know, north, south, east, west, you should always try to observe from the same position so that your accuracy is right. I know if I move too far out in my field in the southern direction, well, then the planets seem to change. But when I go out to the same spot and I go, oh crap, Orion ain't supposed to be there, which is like what's going on right now. Orion is not supposed to be straight overhead. It's supposed to be a little further to the south. And and it's late coming up. I don't know what that means. There has been some ET talks and other kind of, on the sidelines. And I'm just going to put this out for you to think about, that our entire solar system shifted like 500,000 miles or a million miles. We moved like a bunch, like really quick. And it was because of this new energy and the new transition, ascension. I like transition better than ascension. But anyway, through this transition period, because of what happened in 2012, where things went seriously awry, that this is like we kind of caught up. I don't understand it, but it would explain why Orion and some of these other stars. I mean, right? It's almost 9:30 on the East Coast, and for the last several weeks, I can look out this window to the south, almost due south, and the dog star Sirius is very high up. I can see it very plain. I can't find it tonight because it hasn't even risen yet, and it's 9:30. It's overdue. Now, the sun went down at the right time, so I was trying to explain it earlier, like, well, maybe the Earth is like slowed down, because I've noticed that between one day and the next, the sun can come up an hour early, and then the next day come up 2 hours late. 2 years ago, I started mapping this. It hasn't been sunny enough for me to be able to take these readings this year. So I'm like, well, but I can tell when I get up if there's a shadow in my house, because my house is like a sundial, if you will, because it's pointed south. I know where the shadows are, and I know what time of the day they're supposed to be where they are. And they've been relatively normal within 30 minutes either way. But then then it clouds up, and then I can't make an accurate reading with my little solar thingy over there I got the window. But anyway, to the point though, I thought maybe, the Earth was, its wobbling was creating a difference in the sun coming up or down. That doesn't seem to be it, because Orion should have been up a lot sooner than it is. It's late coming up tonight. And like I said, the dog star, I should have been able to see it by now. It's still not up. Okay. Now I've been on here an hour, but it was still so far down in the trees. I'm like, where is it? I can usually see it through my binoculars out my south window, and it's not there. I went outside. It's like, it's not up yet. It's supposed to be up. So I don't know whether our solar system has been shifted, like some of the ET messages that have been coming in. I don't know. But something's up. But here's the thing. If it was going to hurt us, we'd all be dead by now. So this is not an issue about to panic. It's that we should keep an eye out with what's going on, because each of us can see with our own 3D eyes, or maybe some are blind in one eye, but I mean that with respect. But so anyway, some people have 3 eyes, but well, let's not get into that. But to the point though, these are signs that the changes are happening. These are warnings. If you live in the mountains and you live along the New Madrid fault line, you should keep an eye on what's going on. And especially if you're in California or anywhere up the coast, for example. I mean, when they had an earthquake in New Hampshire the other day. They had one in northern, northern New York. It's off the charts right now. It was only like a 2.1. That's not the point. There was an earthquake there. That's the point. And that they have been going on. But because USGS has been really smart about this, anything below a 2.5, you can't read after a week, unless you go into the archives. But so they're claiming anything that's 2.5 or less is meaningless. Well, what if you got a bunch of 2.4s in a row, which has happened around Maryville and up there in Tennessee? There's been a rash of them that are under 2.5, but 2.4. So it doesn't show up in the long forecast. If you want to see what's been going on for the last month, you have to go into the archives. It's still there. But the thing is it's ramped up. It's not just that they're happening, it's ramped up. Extra energy coming from the cosmos, you bet. Schumann resonance going on and off. The when you look at the Schumann resonance itself, the harmonics are what's changing. Not oh, we've been getting spikes out the yin yang, and some of the spikes are like in the white range, where it's supposed to be nice blue and a green and then maybe a yellow and a no, these things are like off the chart, off the chart, off the chart, and off the chart color wise. So the frequencies we're getting hit by are really high, as long as they're as well as they're very high and they're very strong. Okay, because the color is the strength. So we went from like a 1 to 11 when there's only a scale of 10. Okay, in colors, if you will. So we're getting smacked by cosmic energy, and it's having a lot of different effects on the planet. And one of them is the magma moving. And as the earth is spinning, as all the tectonic plates and everything are trying to settle, and it's very possible that Atlantis could come popping up. My friend Miss Deborah and I were talking the other day, and we have been for several weeks now. We've both been getting strong information around Nicaragua, Guatemala. Several months ago, I did a report where that volcano exploded. I saw it the night it happened in my brain, all the people dying. It was horrible. And at that time, I was also told that Nicaragua was going to be hit again. And guess what? 4.5, 5.0, all along Nicaragua and Guatemala on the Pacific side. But about 10 days ago, a really strong one hit on the Caribbean side, or the Caribbean, man. And it was close in between Honduras, and there's a little hump there anyway. But to the point though, so there's some serious things going on with the planet. And if anywhere near a fault line, there's stuff going on. So if you're near a fault line, think you are, and even if you aren't, if you're just in the neighborhood, it doesn't mean that these things are only going to happen along a fault line, because 80 miles off the coast of Maryland is not necessarily a fault line. Now, that could have been, because it was at 10 kilometers, that could have been an undersea explosion, because there are some undersea bases off the coast where the continental shelf begins. There are undersea bases that they've drilled into the side of the shelf, if you will, and too much stuff that relates. For example, the blue lights in New York City a couple of weeks ago. A lot of explanation about things happening under the ocean and nearby, and that this 10-kilometer thingy off the coast of Maryland could very well have been an undersea explosion in retribution to some of the nasty ETs on this planet. Just saying. Don't know, but it happened, and it's just weird where it happened. So just keep that in mind. It's your 2 cents on how you want to look at it. But so anyway, let me check y'all's chat room here. I love to check in with you, but I got to figure this out. Let's see. Mars is in a different position too. You're right, Breaking Dawn. Absolutely. Eureka asks, let me ask you, what does it mean to see 666 more often than you should have seen? Been a little bit too much than I should. It could be that you are seeing, this is my interpretation, and I'm getting a little bit of a download for you here, Eureka, if you're still here. Now, a lot of us are seeing numbers, and I think it's because we're waking up. The 666 is like the bad guys. So if you're seeing it could be very simply this, that it's showing you're awake. It's showing you like a precursor. If you see 666, that means there's something in your life that's going to be hidden, if you will, that's part of the dark cabal. So, Eureka, I would say keep an eye out in your like personal life where there might be somebody who's on that other side that you're not aware of. Because right now, there are a lot of hidden agendas going on. And what this energy is doing with some of these things is bringing them to light. And it may be that the cosmos is telling you 666. It's not because, excuse me, it's not because you are the 666 or that you're involved, that they're after you. It could be a warning that there is someone near you, around you, or something that the 666 represents that you should be aware of. It's not you that it's for your information. It's a warning to be looking for the 666. It's a warning. That's what I'm getting right now. So, Eureka, 2 cents worth on that. I hope that helps. In my own life, I know when I see certain things, I'm like, oh, what does it mean? Wait. A lot of times it's a warning. There's somebody or something that may be trying to get into my tiny little brain and goof things up. So I've got to put my protection spell up, if you will. So maybe that does some good. Selwyn, whoop, it just jumped. Recently clocked 2 old craggy trees appeared out of nowhere. Got home and Google mapped. Anyone know why Google Street views of Bethnal Green and abodes for somehow show nighttime shots? That's a good question. Selwyn, the only thing that I can think of, because I was checking out some things down around, Gitmo, which is on the south side of Cuba. So I'm looking through there through Google Earth, and it's telling me that it's like a current picture, but I know damn well and good it can't be. So the folks at Google, now it could be very well in that they're using old photos. They're using a different scan. Now the other side of the coin, and me and a lot of other folks that, well, quite frankly, they talk about it, but, we're all the really crazy sort. We're thinking that these cosmic energies and the lifting of the veil, the higher frequencies, that there are things that have been hidden that now aren't hidden. The lifting of the veil, and I mean, maybe even an old craggy tree, or maybe a tree used to be there and it's not now, that we have literally shifted dimensionally, spiritually. We've shifted something. Now, it's not the event itself, but it's part of the event. It's part of the grand event. And the meditations and stuff, well, man, this last week or so has been like, boy, I've been like going to school big time. Thus, not many videos. But with that said, though, there seems to be whatever this shift is, we're seeing it in the sky. We're seeing the stars in a different place. The planet seems to be in a different place. So, I'm going to go outside later on. It's supposed to stay clear tonight. And I'm going to do a little bit of checking with some other constellations. And, the moon was in the way at the moment. So I'm waiting for the moon to set to try to, get a better indication of where some of the other constellations are. And whether or not, I know that this is, I don't know how else to explain it, but it seems like some nights Orion's here and Pleiades is over here where it's supposed to be, but it seems like everything's like twisted sideways. And it's like, I don't know. They're there and they're like in their relative position to one another. But from my observation on the planet Earth, everything is like, how did Orion turn sideways when it's supposed to be come up in the east and the belt's like this and it's supposed to go down like, and it comes up and then it does this number where now the belt is sideways instead of like, don't know. But then the next day or even a few hours later, it's like the sky's back. Several months ago, and this was reported by some other folks in the ET community, Pleiades was on. Orion's always on. When I'm looking up at the sky, Orion's always on my left. And then there's another, I think it may be Taurus. And then there's Pleiades. I went outside and Pleiades was on the opposite side of Orion. It was like, what? Now, some of us were told that there is another planet Earth. It's like Terra 2. And that the original Mother Earth was so beat up that we were just going to wake up on this other planet that was going to be so much like Earth that most of us weren't really going to be able to tell. But during this 2 or 3 day period, everything was backwards. It was like somebody had mirrored the universe, and then, but we were looking at it from the opposite side, But anyway, so there's been some dang strange things going on. And the best I can say is that, well, you know my position on ET. I watch them out the window, and it came up a couple of nights ago before it got cloudy, really bright, really starry, and it came up early and disappeared early. But I'm still being able to see it out my southern window. Now, it's been cloudy the last 2-3 nights, so I haven't been able to observe it, but you can bet I'm going to be watching tonight. So anyway, so heads up, y'all, with that. Let me check out whatever anybody else. I will check that Selwyn. But Google Street Earth doesn't show my property the same way sometimes. I've looked at it over the years. But if you look really close and zoom in, a lot of times it will say on Google Earth when the picture was taken. It'll be like 218. And sometimes the picture is just ancient. Or there's something there they haven't wanted you to pick out. So there's a mass meditation on the 21st of the lunar eclipse. Absolutely. And I would absolutely ask everyone to join in with that, because even if we just smile on that day, even if we just say 21st, I'm going to think as many positive thoughts today as I can. Whether you can stop and meditate, you can absolutely affect the planet simply by your intentions. So I would invite everybody coming up here, and I hope to do another video about that and how we may continue to meditate and what our intentions would be about it. But let's just keep let's just keep our heads together and say, we want all light workers to be more enlightened. We want people who are sitting on the fence to receive the light and the understanding from the universe. And, versus, well, I want all the bad guys to go. Well, that's true. But I would much rather have all the good guys wake up more, because then we could all take care of the bad guys. So it's like, well, okay. But if you pray to the negative, like, well, I want to pray that these nasty people get off it. Yeah, okay. Let's just smile and say, we want y'all to go, please. And here's the reason why. You guys are bad and we're the good guys, and we don't want you here anymore. We love you. We would like for you to join us and be in the light with us. But if you're going to be nasty, find another moon or some other place to go. But if we want to pray against them, well, you're nasty. We're losing our light. So with that said, let's all stay positive, whether you get a chance to meditate or not. But it starts right now with my intention and your intention. My intention is for the 20th and 21st for this, eclipse thing and the blood moon, blah, 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 blah. And there are some stargates open, and Sirius, Pleiades, and I can't remember the third one. But they are opening up. The mass meditation is available, and every single one of us, whether we meditate or not, we can always stay positive. I'm thinking good thoughts that all this good energy is going to reach the earth, and it's going to vanquish the darkness, period. That's an easy thought. On the 20th and 21st, these energies coming in are going to enlighten even more of us and will help to vanquish the evil, the darkness. That's a pretty simple prayer. And it stays out of the darkness in itself, because you're wishing for and you're praying for the light to enlighten everyone more and to shed light into the darkness. That's a positive. Okay. Now, if the dark people don't like it, that's not our fault. But we're not wishing them harm. You get what I'm saying? Because this is very important. We can't wish any harm on anybody with this, but we can wish them to receive the light or get chased off. It's their choice, So, but let's keep it in the positive. Let's keep everybody else in the positive loop too. If you see somebody kind of sinking into that negative, just send them a smile, send them a positive thought. Help keep them in the positive for this transition, for this lunar eclipse, and all these other um, star portals being opened up, and all these energies coming in. It is a very unique time. We've been talking about this for 2 years, that 2019 was going to be an exceptionally interesting time. So with that said, I love you all dearly. Thank you for hanging out with me. You guys are always, always, always in my prayers. I thank you, Eureka, for all of your wonderful questions. Quartz Quantum, you're always on my list. And Breaking Dawn, well, how about that too? Michelle, there you are. Blessings to you. Um, let's see. I've already took that one. I was looking back to see. There is a holy cross forming too, says Quantum. Absolutely. Um, Crazy chems at sunset in Wisconsin today. Now we haven't had too many chemtrails down here, so that's interesting. And let's wish them away in a positive way. Let's wish that the people who load the planes will just refuse to do so. Let's pray that the people who pilot the drones, because I don't think there are actually people in them planes, but that's another story. Let's just pray that the people piloting them, whether they're in the planes or not, will have second thoughts and go, I just can't do this anymore. I'm not going to. I'm just not going to work. I can't do this. So let's pray for that they will receive love in their hearts and that they'll stop doing these things. Um, uh, Court, you say, too bad that blog is more than 200 characters. Otherwise, I would share it all. Um, Breaking Dawn, you say, I will meditate for a smoother transfer. Absolutely. Michelle, you're absolutely welcome. And need all I can get. Nathaniel, my almost 4 years old, is nonverbal. Michelle, let me ask you a personal question. Does he draw? If he's nonverbal, I used to work with people like that with brain conditions, and many psychologists and so forth in child development have. You said 4-year-old. If he's nonverbal, does he show any interest? He doesn't draw them. Do you just like put here? Here's a green crayon. Here's a piece of paper. Let's just color green. Just grab onto the thing. Let's just color green. No particular reason. Oh, here's the color blue. Let's just color blue. He's extremely bright. Then that is sort of like in the savant area. And sometimes you have to give them instructions because they can't break out of the mental prison that they're in. They can't connect that I want to do something with my hand until you make the connection with them. He'll just throw the paper on the floor, pick it back up again. The thing is then find something. Maybe it's a dry erase board. Find something that maybe you let him draw on a wall and pick a wall in your house. I know this sounds crazy, but we did this one time with a child, and the only place she wanted to draw was on a wall. So we painted the wall so that she could draw on it, and then it was easy to wipe off. And you gave him something that would wipe off, and let him go. And it's like, but they didn't like the paper, so maybe there's something there. There may be something tactile with the paper, but if you will allow them, and it may not be this, it may not be that, maybe a paintbrush, it may be something else. But the thing is that it's important that you try to connect the hand to the mind. Because in teaching people who've had strokes and stuff, they know how to do it, but they don't. So a 4-year-old child hasn't had the ability, he hadn't been here long enough to be able to discern some of these things. So sometimes you have to not force them, but make them hold on to the crayon. If they pick it up and they try to throw it away, you go, hang on, honey, let's do this. And then let them throw it. Little tiny steps, but always in the same direction. Because one of the things that gets locked up and folks that there were people that I thought were like, Duh, they couldn't talk. They poked their finger in the eye, but they were smart as hell. But you had to find the avenue to let that smartness out. Don't give up. I know he's only 4, but to the point though, even if it's like, well, he doesn't like crayons. Well, okay, then give him a colored marker. Keep trying something. It might be that there's a feel to something that sometimes that folks with this kind of thing, they have issues with tactile things. Paper might just be something in their brain that I'm sorry, but the paper is like wrong. Okay, so maybe you cover the entire table or a desk with paper, so there's not a sheet of paper, but there's the whole top of the desk or something is paper, like butcher paper or something like that. And it's like, so they can't see the paper, they can't push it away. Okay, and you might just let them sit at the table without any implements. Just get used to the paper, for example. And then you go into the higher realm and say, okay, and I say crayon, crayon's easy to break. Okay. And some children are like crash, whatever. But find something that's like, okay, and draw with them. Put your hand on their hand. And it might be you think that they're right handed, and it may be that they're left. So try it with both hands. I knew one guy who could literally draw with one hand and write with the other at the same time. Freaky. So, but people with these higher levels of understanding, you have to treat that with a much different point of view. So it might be that you're putting something in his right hand and he ain't right handed. Maybe he hasn't figured out what hand it is, maybe 2 hands. But to the point, always try a little something different and never get upset. Say, well, okay, that was fun. Let's try something different. It's always, well, that was fun. Let's try something different. Rather than, well, don't throw that or don't throw, stay away from the don't thing. Yeah, that's a biggie. But anyway, I'm past my due here. I was only supposed to be here for 20 minutes. Yeah, you know me. Uh, He'll just throw the paper. Okay, I'm going back up here, Michelle. You're right. I will revisit this tomorrow with Nate. He's very tactile. He'll be 4 in April. Diagnosed autism. That's the word I was looking for. I know many people that and friends of mine with autistic children that I've worked with. And the biggest thing is to try something different. Maybe, for example, find a music. Something that plays in the background might get his, if he likes a certain music or something, maybe you play the music. Sometimes it's a video because they're operating on higher levels than we can ever understand in our current state. In a lot of ways, autistic children have already ascended. They've already made the transition. They're seeing things in a different reality that most of us can't see. And so we have to think in their realm. But if you don't know what their realm is, it's kind of difficult. So, but with that said, Michelle, yeah, I got that right. You can't give up. That's the bottom line. You can't give up. Um, I watched a video. Quart says, I watched a video about the ugly truth about autism. If they can't get your child as a baby, they will do it later when they are older. It's so sick and disgusting. Yeah, yep. Michelle, I'm at dwnull52@gmail.com. If you need any help, I will. My brain doesn't work all the time, but I promise if you need help with something, I've got a long list of stuff that can help you. And if you've tried this, but I've worked for well, in a way, I'm still working with kids who. Oh, 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. Yeah, that's an active mind right there. It might be that you can slip things that are calming into his food, teas, chamomile. Just you're absolutely welcome, Michelle. He's a lefty, I believe. Never met a lefty. Greetings, Melanie. That's where I get Michelle and Melanie mixed up. Okay, they're both start. They both start with M. Anyway, makes you want to punch a deep state's eye out. My nerves are flaring up watching that video. Absolutely, Quartz. I have autism myself, by the way. I didn't know that, Quartz. And I, I, uh, yeah, melatonin may not be it, but it may be part of the cocktail. Um, there are I will look around and see if anything comes to mind. Autistics, fave prey of psychopaths. No surprise. The says autistics have special souls. AI machines see autistics as cream of mankind to be used as life boys to the Almighty. Autism is a spectrum. It's actually all of the above. Um, and the people that I knew who had autism, or actually who still have autism from the days when I was born back in the 60s, but they put so much into these cocktails of, I mean, even flu shots and things, you know. Yeah, I haven't taken a flu shot. This will be my third year. But the last time I took one, I got violently ill for almost 3 weeks. And then it seemed like I just never could get my oomph back after that. But with all these vaccinations and so forth, uh, I mean, just drinking water for God's sakes isn't enough to, you know, make a child's brain go wacko. But with that said, though, many years ago in the early 1970s, when I was learning how to teach mentally handicapped children and adults, there was a program out there called Try Another Way. In other words, if something didn't particularly work, then try another way. You don't give up. You just try something different until something hits with the person. Now, you have to try something repetitively. And it may be that you try something 6 times in one day and then forget it. But then the next day, similar time, you try it again 6 times. And then you say, well, okay, you never get upset. You never, you know, try to push anybody out. But it's the being consistent that becomes comfortable with the person, like, well, I pushed the paper away 6 times yesterday, and now I pushed it, but the paper's back. And after 6 times, what happened? You know, it's almost like they want to see if it comes back, and if so, if they push it. I mean, the brain's acting like, wait a minute, they're doing this thing like in a pattern. Oh, patterns are good, you know, because higher autistic folks look at things differently in different patterns, not necessarily like we do. So give them the same pattern over a long time, even if it's like, here's a cup, but you're going to knock it over. Get a plastic cup that you can knock on the floor 100 times and it won't break. But do the same thing, not to tick them off and not to be ugly. Just say, here, Nate, here's your cup, you know, blam. Okay, here, Nate, here's your cup, blam. Because it might not be getting in. So you do this repetition thing to like, wait, that's mommy's voice. There's all this noise going on in my poor little tiny 4-year-old brain. Even if I wasn't autistic, I'd be having issues with. So, but mommy is going to say, I love you, Nate. Here's your cup again. I love you, Nate. Here's your cup again. Wait, after a while, you go, whoa, whoa. And if you don't give them to them, they go, Mommy, where's my cup? Because they're almost expecting it. It's like, the movie, with Dustin Hoffman, et cetera. That I can't remember it right now, but it's like he knew when the television was. I got to be home for the dating game or whatever, you know. But to the point though. But if you introduce something on a consistent basis with love and understanding and with good intent, then you can reach them that way. It's touchy. It takes a long time, but that's just another suggestion. So, but anyway, you got talked into a flu shot. Yeah, that's a bad thing. Michelle, you say, I'm 46 with an 18-year-old son too. I'm pooped. I bet you are. Um, yes, and God bless Donald Trump and the things that he's trying to get accomplished. Uh, Melanie, you developed multiple sclerosis from the flu shot? Yeah, no more shots for me either. My son, Michelle says, still rocks Asperger's. Yes, just won a $40,000 scholarship to a university. I know several people with Asperger's, and, you know, that's a toughie too. I got the flu shot when pregnant with Nate. Oh, Rain Man, thank you very much. Um, Selwyn, what do you think about what I said about psychopaths preying on autistics and the Kabbalah? Um, my my point to that, Selwyn, is that that's not the only psychopaths. Don't just pick on them. I think they pick on them because there is something in common. In other words, they look at the universe in a slightly, and I don't necessarily mean negative way, but twisted. Okay. And so a person with autism may be able to understand what the other person's talking about, maybe not their motive or the fact that, a psychopath wants to kill another person or whatever. But that, in the area of, it's like, okay, here's a really bad excuse, but I broke my leg in high school playing football. Okay. So if you have had been injured during a football game, other people who are injured during a game, we have that in common. I know it's stupid. Okay. Reading glasses. I use glasses to read with, but not to see to drive. Okay. So I have that in common. So it can be as innate as inane as that. In other words, so obscure you would like, what? But with the point that I don't necessarily, psychopaths will pick on anybody because they're psychotic, But I don't know if it's just that they're easier targets. Now, the cabal, they may be psychopaths, but in a different respect. And I say that in the cabal might want somebody that's autistic because they are artistic for a totally separate reason. And I don't think, my personal opinion, you should put them both in the same category. There's crazy people, and then there's the crazy cabal. They've got a really, deep set agenda where the other folks don't. This is a psychopath is just a psychopath for his own personal whatever. The cabal, on the other hand, got thousands of years of stuff behind them with an agenda different. So autism would be tried to pull in because these people are like Rain Man and that they are this way. And people with Asperger's, even, they have a high intelligence quotient, but they suck as most of the Asperger's I've met they have a large problem with any kind of empathy or sympathy for other people. In other words, I went up to a friend of mine and said, my mother just died. And he went, I'm sorry, but let's go play football. What? There was no empathy there. Your mother just died. Okay. Come on, let's go play ball. Wait a minute. Did you hear yeah, well, your mother died. So what? And it wasn't like he was being rude. He didn't have it. And many other people with Asperger's have fallen into that same kind of category in that they understand I'm supposed to feel something, but they don't. Something doesn't connect their empathy thingy to them. Now, that doesn't mean that all Asperger's are like that. I'm just saying the ones that I have met had a lot of difficulty with just relating to other people, and but having that warm, nice, warm, fuzzy kind of thing. They don't get warm and fuzzies. Their warm and fuzzy is in a different way. Just saying. So for Selwyn, to the point about that though, I think that cabal, I have dreams that I'm still trying to figure out. And it seems like for some reason I have been inducted as a child through the Catholic Church. I can't prove it, but there's a lot of indications and too many weird dreams and stuff. So I don't think they just pick on any particular part. Now the cabal would because of this autism. So I agree with you on that. For the reasoning, you got me. Them folks are crazy, but with a long-term agenda. So, um, Wapner on at 5 o'clock. Absolutely, Michelle. A physics scholarship. Oh man, I would love to have a chat with him. Court says, Selwyn, all I know is that I want the deep state to be gone. All of them. They have destroyed and ruined a lot of people's lives and wreaked havoc on Mother Earth. Absolutely, Quartz. And Michelle says Hoffman would say, got to watch Judge Wapner. Yep, absolutely. All right, guys. I've got a butt cramp. I haven't had supper yet. And I just wanted to get on here. No, you're not keeping me late, Michelle. No, 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 no. I don't have anything planned. I just know that there are other people that come on about 10 o'clock, and I try not to get in the mix, if you will, on YouTube so that y'all can go watch somebody else. But I love you, Michelle, all of you. Selwyn, a symptom of psychiatric meditation is a big below pot bellies. True reason, because cabal secretly carry out mind control radiation experiments. The the something I don't intestines being the sensitive most organ to radiation. Um, Butt cramp, absolutely. Appreciate it, everything you do, Quartz, and you too. Um, Thank you, thank you, thank you. Selwyn, those crazy people, the cabal, they're doing all kinds of stuff. And if you're over in England and so forth, you got some crazy folks over there that have been doing stuff a lot longer than they've been doing here in the United States. So y'all keep it between the ditches. And I love your conversation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay safe. Have a good night. I'll try to be on later if I can. I got some other things I want to talk about. I just wanted to bring this conversation up. Thank you, hugs, and my closing prayer. I pray that every single one of you, your friends, your relatives, your neighbors, and all of your relations will accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom of the universe. I pray every single day that whether I come on here or not, that each one of you will continue with your search and your revelations, and that you will continue to receive these blessings from the universe. And my continued prayer for 2019 is that each one of us share this with someone. So, blessings to you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, Rewatching the beginning now. Blessings to you, Melanie, Michelle, Selwyn, Breaking Dawn, Quartz. Love you, man. So, until next time, adios from here.